something is shifting in Heartland, and it isn't just the ranch. The moment Amy walked into that firefly-lit meadow with Nathan, fans felt it. Season 20 is going to change everything. A proposal, a move, a future no one expected. And now, the first look at Heartland Season 20 proves one thing. Romance is about to become the center of the storm. Season 20 begins with a tension that you can almost feel in the air because Amy is standing at the biggest crossroads of her entire life. The moment Nathan asked her to marry him, the world around her froze. Not because she didn't care about him, but because she suddenly realized how much her life had changed without her even noticing. For the first time since Ty's death, someone had given her a future that didn't feel borrowed or forced. And that is exactly why Amy starts the new season in quiet conflict. She keeps replaying everything in her mind. The fireflies, the tenderness in Nathan's voice, and the way Lindy looked at him like he had already become part of their family. But with every warm memory comes the weight of what she might lose. Heartland is not just a home, it is her identity. Leaving it behind feels impossible. And yet, staying feels like she is holding herself back from a new life she deserves. Meanwhile, Nathan waits, but not passively. He knows Amy is torn, so he doesn't push her for an answer. Instead, he focuses on cleaning up the damage left by Gracie. His ranch is practically hanging by a thread, but he is determined to fix everything, not just for himself, but because he wants to prove he can offer Amy and Lindy something stable. You can feel his vulnerability in the way he moves around the ranch, checking fences, going through old papers, trying to rebuild a place that was almost destroyed by betrayal. And the more he fixes, the more he realizes something. He doesn't just want Amy to move in with him, he wants her to feel safe choosing him. That difference is what sets the tone for the entire season. This isn't a love story built on pressure, it's built on patience. At the Heartland Ranch, everyone feels the shift coming, even though Amy hasn't said a word. Jack pretends he isn't worried, but the way he watches Amy gives him away. He knows her better than anyone, and what he sees is a woman trying to be brave. Lou, on the other hand, feels a mix of happiness and anxiety. She wants Amy to choose love, but she also knows what Heartland means to her sister. The ranch has already endured so many changes, and letting go of Amy, even just a little, might be the hardest one yet. Lindy senses it too. She keeps asking questions, not the big dramatic ones, but small things that break your heart, like whether they will still visit Grandpa Jack if they move away. Amy doesn't have answers yet, and that uncertainty grows heavier every time she has to smile and pretend everything is fine. But the biggest surprise in the early episodes comes from Katie. Instead of resisting the changes, she starts stepping up in ways no one expected. She begins taking more responsibility around the ranch, talking to Jack about the future, and quietly preparing herself for the possibility that Heartland will soon rest on her shoulders. It's subtle at first, helping with horses, helping Lou with paperwork, helping Lindy stay distracted, but slowly, you see her becoming something new, a leader in the making. Whether she realizes it or not, she is turning into the heart of the next generation. And while everyone is quietly preparing for the storm ahead, the ranch itself becomes strangely peaceful. There's a softness in the mornings, a quietness in the evenings, almost like Heartland knows change is coming and is giving Amy the space to breathe. But that peacefulness doesn't last long. A new complication arrives just when Amy thinks she's finally ready to give Nathan her answer. A letter, a legal notice, a reminder that the land they've lived on for generations might not be as secure as they thought. Suddenly, Amy's personal decision becomes tangled with Heartland's future, and now she must choose between love and responsibility. The letter arrives early in the morning, slipped quietly into the stack of routine ranch mail, but its impact is anything but ordinary. Lou is the first to see it, and the moment she reads the sender's name, her expression changes. Heartland has always been a sanctuary, a place protected by history and love. But suddenly a threat that no one saw coming is sitting right on the kitchen table. Amy walks in while Lou is still holding the letter, and the tension in Lou's eyes tells her everything before she even knows the details. When Amy finally reads the notice, her breath catches in her throat. The land border dispute that Jack thought had been resolved decades ago has somehow resurfaced. And this time it's backed by a corporation with money, lawyers, and a very different vision for the future of the valley. This news crushes Amy right at the moment she needed clarity the most. She had finally begun accepting the idea of a new life with Nathan. She even imagined the small things. Lindy riding her first horse on Nathan's land, quiet evenings, a fresh start that didn't erase her past but honored it. But now, with Heartland under threat, those dreams suddenly feel selfish. The ranch isn't just a home. It is a legacy. Ty lived here. Her family built their lives here. Generations of memories are tied to this land. How can she walk away now, when the place that shaped her is facing its biggest battle yet? The guilt hits her like a wave, and for the first time, she steps back emotionally from Nathan's proposal, afraid that choosing him might look like abandoning everyone else. Jack reacts to the land dispute with a silence that shakes the whole family. Nothing frightens him. Not storms, not accidents, not conflict, but the possibility of losing Heartland is something he never allows himself to think about. Still, he refuses to show fear. He stands tall, determined, but Amy catches the flicker of worry beneath his calm exterior. She realizes Jack is fighting his own battle, the fear that his time is passing, and that he may not be strong enough to protect the ranch forever. This makes Amy's emotional conflict even heavier. She wants to be there for him, to stand by the ranch the way Ty once stood by her. But she also knows her heart is pulling her toward Nathan. She is stuck between two loyalties, one born from her past, one built for her future. Nathan, without knowing about the letter yet, keeps working on rebuilding his ranch. But he senses something is wrong the moment he sees Amy again. Her smile is softer, but it's also distant, like she is hiding a battle he isn't allowed to fight. Instead of demanding answers, he gives her space, because that's the kind of man he is. He waits. He respects her silence. But the waiting is slowly wearing him down. For the first time, he worries that his proposal didn't just scare Amy. It might have overwhelmed her. And the thought of losing her before she had truly become his throws him into a quiet fear he tries desperately to hide. Things only get more complicated when Lou begins digging into the land dispute. At first, it looks like a mistake, a missing signature, a misinterpreted map. But as she investigates further, she uncovers something much more unsettling. The corporation behind the land claim has shown interest in buying several ranches in the valley, including Tanner's old property. And that's the land Nathan planned to buy for their future. The realization hits Lou hard. If Amy moves with Nathan, she might be stepping straight into a fight even larger than the one Heartland is facing. Nathan's future land, Heartland's borders, the valley itself, it's all connected. And someone is quietly preparing to take over everything. Lou brings this information to Jack, and together they sit in silence, both realizing that Amy's choice is no longer just about love or home. It's about survival. If Amy moves away and Heartland loses the fight, she will spend the rest of her life blaming herself. But if she stays for the sake of the ranch, she risks letting fear control her future. There is no easy path ahead. Every decision will cost something. Jack knows this, and for the first time, he feels powerless. Back at Heartland, Katie senses the tension rising again. This time, instead of stepping back, she leans in. She watches the adults around her struggling and quietly begins gathering information on the land dispute herself. She might be young, but she understands one thing very clearly. Heartland needs someone to think ahead, someone who isn't afraid to fight for the future. And without even realizing it, Katie begins stepping into a role she was born for. Not as a replacement for Amy, but as the next protector of Heartland. The section ends with Amy standing alone outside the barn at dusk, staring at the letter again. The sun is setting, the sky is shifting to gold, and everything feels uncertain. She loves Nathan. She loves Heartland. And now, both might be slipping through her fingers. For the first time, Amy fears that no matter what she chooses, she might break something she never intended to. Night settles over Heartland with a heaviness that almost feels alive. The uncertainty, the fear, the silence. It all hangs in the air as Amy stands outside the barn, still clutching the letter that turned her entire world upside down. She hears footsteps behind her and turns to find Jack quietly approaching. He doesn't say anything at first. He just stands beside her, looking at the horizon the way he always does when he's trying to stay strong. When he finally speaks, his voice is steady, but softer than usual. He tells Amy that no matter what happens, Heartland will always be her home, and that her happiness should never be a burden. But instead of comforting her, his words make Amy's heart twist even more. Because she knows Jack is preparing himself for a future where she may leave, and that realization hurts more than anything. The next morning, Amy decides she can't keep the truth from Nathan any longer. She rides out to meet him, rehearsing the words in her mind, but the moment she sees him standing outside his half-rebuilt barn, everything suddenly feels overwhelming again. Nathan walks toward her with that gentle concern he never hides, and before she even speaks, he knows something is wrong. When she finally tells him about the land dispute, he listens without interrupting, his expression slowly tightening with worry, not for himself, but for her. He understands instantly why she has been distant. This isn't about romance anymore. This is about Amy's identity, her family, her legacy. Nathan takes a long breath, and in that moment, Amy expects him to take back his proposal, or maybe put it on hold. But he surprises her. Instead of stepping away, he steps closer. He tells her he doesn't want to be the reason she feels torn. He loves her enough to wait, even if it takes months. Even if Heartland wins or loses. Even if the future looks nothing like what he imagined. He just wants her to choose freely. And somehow, his patience makes Amy even more emotional than the proposal itself. Meanwhile, Lou takes the fight into her own hands. She starts digging through old county records, searching for anything that proves Heartland's borders were legally settled. Hours turn into days, and she finds herself lost in dusty files and faded maps. But her persistence pays off. She uncovers an old land survey that contradicts the corporation's claim. It isn't enough to win the case, but it's enough to give them hope. Lou brings the documents to Jack, and together they begin forming a plan. But something becomes clear very quickly. This fight won't be won in an office. It will be won by the people of the valley. If the corporation plans to take over the land, then the ranchers need to stand together. And it's Lou who steps up as the voice of Heartland's defense. While the adults work on the legal battle, Katie continues taking the initiative at the ranch. She helps Lindy with her chores. She organizes tools. She double-checks the fences. She even starts training one of the younger horses, proving to Jack that she isn't just stepping up. She's growing into the heart of the next chapter. The family starts relying on her more than they realize, and with every passing day, the idea of Katie leading future stories becomes clearer. The shift is subtle but powerful. Heartland is preparing itself for a new generation, and Katie is ready to carry the weight when the time comes. But just when the family starts feeling a little more hopeful, the corporation behind the land dispute makes a bold move. They send representatives to Heartland, offering a large payout for the ranch. It's a subtle threat wrapped in polite words. Either sell willingly, or they will take the fight to court. Jack refuses immediately, but Amy feels the pressure rise again. The idea of leaving used to be tied to love and new beginnings. Now, it's tied to fear, loss, and sacrifice. The contrast shakes her. She realizes that moving with Nathan isn't running away, it's choosing a life that grows. Losing Heartland, however, would be running from everything her family built. The turning point for Amy arrives one evening when she finds Katie sitting with Lindy, explaining the situation in the simplest, kindest way possible. Katie tells Lindy that families don't break just because homes change. They grow, they shift, they expand, but they stay connected. Listening to them gives Amy a new clarity. She realizes that her choices don't have to be all or nothing. She can choose Nathan without abandoning Heartland. She can fight for the ranch while still accepting love. Life doesn't have to be split between past and future. They can exist together. With her heart finally steady, Amy rides back to Nathan's ranch. The sun is setting, painting the sky in amber and rose. almost like the Firefly Meadow all over again. Nathan steps outside, surprised but hopeful the moment he sees her. Amy tells him everything, her fears, her guilt, the pressure she felt. Then she takes a deep breath and finally gives the answer that has been fighting its way out from the moment he proposed. She says yes. Yes to the future. Yes to love. Yes to building something new. The moment is emotional, quiet, and deeply romantic. Not loud, not dramatic, just honest. But the romance isn't the end. It's the beginning. With Amy's decision clear, the season sets the stage for something bigger, a battle to protect Heartland, a shift toward new leadership with Katie, and a love story that promises healing instead of heartbreak. Season 20 becomes the bridge between the past and the future, a farewell to one chapter and the spark of another.